This criminal mastermind easily outsmarts the police. An incident involving DaBaby, also known as Jonathan Kirk, took place in January 2020 in Miami at a nightclub during a performance that was set to take place there. The problem became even worse when the owner of the club did not pay him the full amount that was owed to him, instead offering $20,000 of the $30,000 that was agreed upon as payment. According to the testimony provided by the victim, Kirk allegedly assaulted him by striking him in the face multiple times during the course of the incident. The victim was beaten, knocked down, and ultimately robbed of his cell phone, credit card, and $80 in cash, as other members of Kirk's entourage joined in on the attack. The only piece of evidence that has ever been found relating to this incident is a video that was taken by the club's CCTV system but is only partially clear. After the altercation, Kirk fled the area in a hurry in a black SUV, but he eventually went back to his hotel room a few hours later. His arrival was met with a surprise since both victims and a police squad were waiting for him. This resulted in his instant arrest. At first, Kirk was told that the primary purpose of his visit to the police station was to participate in an investigation that was already underway, but it wouldn't take long before it became clear that the inquiry would turn out to be a lot more difficult than anyone had imagined. Inconveniently for the law enforcement officers, Kirk chose to use this time during the interrogation to display the most unpleasant behavior conceivable, thereby making their job even more complex. It is immediately evident that the detectives would be tasked with a difficult mission right from the beginning of the investigation. Kirk immediately takes a stance by refusing to provide any answers to the questions posed by the cops. This includes refusing to disclose his own name, which was one of the queries. The fact that he has already been properly informed of his Miranda rights, which include the right to remain silent, suggests that he has purposefully chosen to make use of this privilege. Miranda rights include the right to remain silent, and the fact that he's chosen not to exercise his entitlement to legal representation, which, let's be honest here, is not owing to financial restrictions, is what makes this scenario particularly intriguing. Under these conditions, the best course of action will be to maintain your silence and make a formal request for legal representation. Surprisingly, Kirk believes that he can successfully negotiate his way out of this sticky situation on his own without the assistance of legal advice if he simply chooses his words carefully. Kirk is adamant that he was not involved in any of the actions that occurred outside. His description of the events is rather hazy, but in essence, he claims that his manager had a conversation with an event organizer about the possibility of putting on a show at a nightclub called Cafe Iguana Pines. Cafe Iguana Pines is a venue for live music. Nevertheless, it turned out that the money supplied by the organizer was gained through unlawful ways, and throughout the negotiation, the organizer demonstrated suspicious conduct. Kirk suggested that they find a solution to the problem rather than accepting the offer and moving forward regardless. He then left without starting a fight or getting into an argument. It should be brought to everyone's attention that this explanation does not explain the recorded confrontation that took place outdoors. In spite of this, the footage isn't clear, and there aren't any eyewitnesses nearby who can identify the assailants. Yet, as long as Kirk stays adamant about his account of what happened, one may argue that everything should be settled without any major problems arising from the situation. Kirk's claims could be construed as an attempt to demonstrate his success as a rapper, but they also contain some merit in his defense. One interpretation of his statements was as an attempt to demonstrate success. He attempted to put some distance between himself and the alleged criminal activity by drawing attention to the lavish manner in which he lived and the financial successes he had. From Kirk's point of view, the individual in question lacked any purpose or involvement in the occurrence, and the story he told regarding his whereabouts was plausible. Despite this, the detectives remained steadfast in their determination to fulfill their duty and solve the case. They admitted that a criminal act had been committed, and they stated that Kirk's vehicle had been present at the scene of the incident. Their purpose was to gather the facts necessary to develop a narrative that would put pressure on Kirk to reveal his involvement in the plot. The officials of the law enforcement agency have come to the conclusion that they are unable to coax any information out of him at this time. At this point, he has shared his account of what occurred and made it abundantly clear that it will not be altered, despite the fact that they have made numerous attempts to convince him otherwise. Therefore, in order to maintain consistency with the standard operating procedure, the investigators have decided to leave the room for a little while in order to plan their next move while they are outside. This standard procedure gives the suspect some time to themselves within the limits of the room, which gives them the opportunity to gather their thoughts and become more anxious. This strategy is shown to be crucial in a number of cases, either in successfully evoking a breakthrough from the suspect or in not being successful in doing so. In the case of Kirk, on the other hand, all he has to do is close his eyes before falling into a deep sleep. It should come as no surprise that the individual in question feels an extreme lack of interest in the matter at hand. However, it looked like the investigators faced a dilemma in selecting their next course of action, and they arrived at the conclusion that convincing the person in question was an impossible feat. After some time had passed, a detective looked into the case once more, this time focusing on the safety of Kirk's things, which he had forgotten to take with him when he checked out of his hotel room. In spite of the fact that he had not been found guilty of the crime, Kirk was still the principal suspect in the ongoing investigation. As a result, he had to be detained while the authorities pondered on their strategy and painstakingly gathered all the available evidence. Consequently, the predicament they faced centered on how to deal with Kirk's belongings while he was being held captive. To no one's surprise, Kirk steadfastly refused to allow them access to his possessions and maintained that the hotel employees should be the ones to handle the situation instead. Kirk found himself facing the possibility of serving the maximum prison sentence of 15 years, in addition to paying a heavy fine of $10,000. Furthermore, there was the prospect of further charges being brought against him in connection with the battery incident. However, the imposition of this prospective penalty was contingent on the authorities being able to collect adequate evidence. Unluckily for them, neither Kirk nor the blocked security footage, which together comprised the sole proof of the crime, provided them with any evidence that could be used to convict the suspect. DaBaby was held in custody for a total of 48 hours, but he was eventually released and given permission to go about his life as he pleased. Just 2 months later, in an unexpected turn of events, all of the accusations that had been brought against him were dropped, and he was set free. Wow, what a wild ride that was! The story of DaBaby's incredible escape from the clutches of the law had us on the edge of our seats. It is truly a testament to the intricate complexities of criminal investigations and the challenges faced by law enforcement in bringing justice to perpetrators. Thank you for joining us today as we delved into this gripping tale. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more intriguing true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.